I bet you can't name a more forgotten about Jason Statham movie than this one, which is wild because it's based on a true story. It's day 134 of 365, today's movie, The Killer Elite. You don't need to hire a group of SAS retirees to track down my movie club. You can find these daily reviews plus monthly deep dives and more at patreon.com/ticketstubmovieclub. Directed by Gary McKendry in his directorial feature debut based on the book called The Feathermen, this one stars Jason Statham alongside Robert De Niro and Clive Owen. This book has been accused of embellishment, if not outright lies, which I would tend to disagree with now that we understand the way that the elites tend to run things in the background here in 2025. The author of that book, Randolph Fiennes, is included as a small character within this movie, and if even half of what is in this movie is true, it's not even the most interesting things about him. This guy is ex-SAS, and he's been to the North and South Pole, and that's just scratching the tip of how interesting this guy's real life is. I'm inclined to just believe his story. I went to see this in 2011 because I was a fan of Jason Statham. I've actually seen every movie that man has been in, so of course this one was gonna get ticked off of my list. And as long as we're ticking boxes, that's exactly what this movie does for a Statham film. It has solid action, his line delivery is always just perfect, and the plot keeps moving at a pace that keeps things interesting enough to keep watching. Watching this one in 2025, I realized it's basically a heist movie centered around assassinations, which is cool to me, but was not cool to the audiences at the time because this one flopped in the theaters. Personally, I think that's kind of crazy because this isn't even one of Statham's worst movies, but oh well, let's jump into the 3 things that I enjoyed about The Killer Elite. The first thing that I really dig about this movie is Clive Owen and that detached pupil. I hadn't noticed it on my first watch, if I'm being honest. This is something I picked up on when I was watching it for this review. It's those little character additions that can really make a movie for me. Something to make a character stand out without it being huge. This is a movie with complicated morals, too. Clive Owen is playing a character who's not particularly a bad guy. I mean, he is because he kills people, but he's also going to get killed by people who kills people that we're cheering for, so the morals of the movie are ambiguous at best. His detached pupil speaks to like a really rough past. Like, this is a guy that is not to be messed with, and we see that in the matchup between him and Jason Statham early in the movie. That scene is visceral. Like, the hits and punches landed are real. There's kind of like a superhero-ness to a lot of the fighting roles that Statham gets to do, and so when he does something more faded into reality, something like this movie, the hits landing and there being like reactions to them remind me of old Jackie Chan movies where like taking a hit takes it out of you for a second. There's specifically a hit Clive Owen takes to his gut where he is just down, and there's a moment there where Statham could have killed him, but he couldn't have made it look like an accident. It would have been just a straight up murder, which is against the rules that he's been set to here. A guy like that being able to take a hit like that is brought out in the characterization of a choice like giving him a distended pupil. Those little things go a really long way, so I just wanted to highlight how much that tiny little character choice works for me. The second thing that I really dig about this movie is it's like getting the team together scene. In heist movies, there's always a scene like this. Even Rick and Morty have made jokes and full episodes at the expense of this setup. This movie opts to do it in the most low-key and cool way possible by pointing out the impossibility of the mission through that hiring process. Statham sits down with the 2 guys that he trusts to get the mission done, offers them all of the money because he's just in it to help his friend, and then they go into why this is impossible. They're going to be taking down guys because they need to get confessions out of them. And these guys are specifically trained to die before they give up confessions. And that's not even the hard part. These are trained soldiers and assassins. They're going to be difficult to even get to in the first place. It's going to require tons of planning just on getting to the point where they could even fight these guys down enough to get a confession out of them. It's so impossible. And the way these guys talk about it makes it known that they know that this is something that they likely won't succeed in, and they don't give a shit because the payoff is too good and the opportunity to say that they did it is what they're really in for. Again, this is based on something real. This isn't getting the team together in an Ocean's movie where it's not a real thing and the millions of dollars are kind of made up. This is based on a true story. So this is like a known. We know the kind of psychology these guys go through to be able to survive waterboarding and torture of having music played at them for days on end, being deprived of food and sleep, and they're trained for for all that. And so the movie's telling us this is going to be impossible, and our three guys are up for the task. The third and final thing that I really dig about this movie is its flavor. As I mentioned at the top, this is like a heist movie about assassinations. That's really interesting to me. Like, that's a cool angle that you don't see very often. We've seen the setup of you have to go kill these three people and then figuring out how to do that. But the way in which they do it to make it look like an accident each time, either by a slip and fall or a traffic accident or freezing in the middle of the wilderness, there's lots of ways to crack an egg. And the way the movie doesn't explain the heist leading up to it, but instead just shows us what's happening and has us figure out, oh, that's how they're gonna make it look like an accident. I love that. There's a lot of ways to tell this kind of story, and this being the directorial feature debut tells me that they really went about this in the right way. They took their time to figure out how to tell a story like this. The book is a little more straightforward and factual, and this guy is actually relaying stories from other people in the book. It's not all firsthand for him, even though in the movie they do explain that he's making this documentary about the situation. I like that they dressed it up into a more blockbuster format by making it more easy to follow. In 2011, I think I was a little confused as to like the motivations, and what I was watching was a little jarring for me without having the media literacy to understand these setups. Watching in 2025, this was breezy. This is really easy to follow along when you know the pitch is like, hey, this is a heist, but also about assassinations. But what do you think? Did you forget about this Jason Statham movie, or did you enjoy this one when it came out? I'm curious to know your thoughts. We're gonna go from a killer elite to a killer diagnosis, with our next movie being 50-50. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.